Urgency can be an extremely powerful mental trigger in your sales process, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking to Jack Bourne all about how you can actually build urgency into your sales funnel. Hello and welcome to this episode of The Power of Podcasting. My name is Nick Palkowski and I am the host here, and I am the founder of Your Podcast Guru, and I'm extremely excited to have you on today's episode because we're going to be diving into a very unique software that I just recently started using called Deadline Funnel, and we're going to be talking to the creator of this software all about how urgency can help you increase your sales and how to build that into your sales process. So I'm very excited to have on Jack Bourne from Deadline Funnels. Welcome, Jack.
Great to be here, Nick.
And I just wanted to kind of kick things off by just asking you to explain a little bit about your story and how you got started in really the software business.
Yeah, so I'll try to compress the story down because it begins well over a decade ago. But basically, the short version is that when I left my last corporate job, I basically had no idea what I was going to do. But I knew corporate America and me didn't mix. So I spent the next, I would say, a year building up a two-sided marketplace for healthcare providers, which is kind of weird, but that was related to the last job that I had. And so I was creating essentially an eBay for companies that do nurse recruiting and the nurses. And so I was building up this platform. And I spent a year building the thing up. I was learning how to code. I was doing a lot of things that normally you would want to outsource, but this was way back in the day. I didn't have the resources to build a team, and so I was doing everything myself. So after about, I'd say, 10 months of doing that, my wife came to me and said, look, I know you've been putting your heart and soul into this, but so far everyone's been on the free plan. It's time to flip the switch and see if we got anything here. So what I did was I did a product launch before I even knew what a product launch was. We all now understand, people have codified and systematized the whole idea behind here's how you do it for an effective product launch. So I did some of those things right just by thinking about how do I want to announce this to the public. But that system wasn't in place, so I was really trying to figure this out on my own. But one of the things that I did right was that I set a deadline. So we opened it up, we had charter number prices, and I said, you got to sign up by this date or else your account gets turned off and you're going to miss out on these special prices. And so when I first opened it up, I think we got one company to sign up and thought, oh boy, I've just wasted an entire year of my life. And so I got on the phone, I was making calls, trying to get people to sign up, and it just really wasn't getting any traction. But true to my word, when the deadline came, I said, well, I'm shutting the thing down. I'm not gonna go back to the free plan. There's no sense in that. So I started shutting off accounts, and all of a sudden, emails started pouring in, and people started calling me and saying, "What's going on? Why can't I log into the site? My account was working yesterday." And I said, "Haven't you been paying attention to the emails?" And they said, "Okay, hold on. I'll go get my boss's credit card." I didn't realize that a lot of the people who were using it didn't have the corporate card. So having that deadline made them get off their arse and actually go and get the card. So long story short, within a week, $28,000 of revenue showed up, a lot of it in terms of annual plans and then some monthly subscribers. So it was my first introduction to the power of a deadline. And so any sort of product launch, everyone's familiar with, well, there's a beginning, card open, a middle, and then there's an end. And anyone who's done one of these product launches, whether it's a huge product launch or a small product rollout to your own list, knows that one of the best times in terms of revenue per click, revenue per email open, the amount of money you make per minute is going to be in what I call the perfect persuasion window, which is about 6 to 12 hours before the deadline ends. That's when everyone is forced to be in or out. You're either on board or you're not. You either get these special bonuses or you don't. And so that's when sales really go through the roof. Now, the light bulb didn't go off back then that, okay, what I need to do is create software that makes it possible to do this. But it was many years later, I was working for a guy named Perry Marshall, who I hope most people know. If you're unfamiliar with Perry, you should go look him up on Amazon. as a thought leader in the direct marketing space, and I was privileged to have an opportunity to work with Perry for many years, and he and I are still friends. So while I was working with Perry, he had obviously products that he was promoting, and I had a handful of products of my own that I was promoting. And he and I both really love the idea of generating leads and then having emails drip out automatically to them. It's pretty common practice these days. But what we wanted to do is I wanted to be able to have a deadline that was really tightly tied into those automated emails that would be dripped out. And so the basic concept was, what if we could use one of the most powerful psychological triggers known to man, documented by Robert Cialdini in his book Influence, and that's scarcity or urgency, which kind of is the same thing in some ways. And so to have a deadline, to automate it, but to not be sleazy, skeezy, and be lying to people. In other words, yeah, you can take an HTML timer and stick it on a page and go, haha, like now I'm using urgency. But people realize, okay, that's a BS trick when they see that your page rolls over the next day and the deadline that was supposed to be last night all of a sudden was a fake deadline and now there's another deadline tonight. So that's not at all what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a real, authentic, genuine deadline, but it's set based on when someone enters the funnel, which could be when someone opts in, it could be when someone registers for a webinar, or it could be the person didn't do anything, but your system, let's say that you're using, I'll just choose ConvertKit. Let's say that they got a tag in ConvertKit, and that set their deadline to be X number of days from now, even though they didn't click a link, they didn't really do anything. It's just your email marketing automation decided today was the best day for them to go into this email sequence. And so I looked around because I wasn't really looking for what can I build next for software, but I had this need. There was nothing out there that came even close to doing what I wanted to do. And so I decided, okay, I'll build it. I build it. A lot of my software that I've built over the years started with a need that I had. And so I would build it to solve a problem that I had. And then I would find out relatively quickly, okay, a lot of other people like me, a lot of other direct response marketers, solo entrepreneurs, or people with small but growing companies who are advertising online have this same need. And so then I would turn it into a software product. So that was really how Deadline Funnel was born. It was out of a need that I had to be able to automate deadlines, but do it in a way that was absolutely authentic.
I love that because, yeah, I've seen those deadlines, those ones that really aren't authentic. And that's one of the things that I really do love about your software is that you can actually be very honest and very say, hey, this is the only time you're going to get this offer because then you're kind of locked out of the system. And I love that. So can you give us just an example of how, say, a podcaster who has an online course, for example, might use deadline funnels?
Sure. So I've used this method whether I'm being interviewed on a podcast or if you're running a podcast. So I've shared it with some people I know who have a podcast because I currently don't have my own. So the concept is that what you can do is you can have a promotional code that you send people to a page where when they enter in the promotional code, that lets them through, but then on the next page it explains a special deal, but there's a limited amount of time to pull the trigger. So in other words, once they enter in the promotional code, they've got, it could be 12 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever time you want. But the point is that you're offering a really, really sweet deal, a really attractive deal that should be a no-brainer if it's a good fit for the person. But you don't want them to think about it and just ponder it and say, oh, that's really cool, I'll hopefully come back to that later. So before I started online marketing way back, I worked for several different companies in direct face-to-face sales. One of those was Merrill Lynch, and so one of the things that everyone knew in direct sales was that the saying, the delay of the sale is the death of the sale. So if I'm talking with you and I've made my presentation and you say, wow, Jack, that sounds really cool, I want to talk it over with my CPA, or I want to talk it over with my spouse, right? Oh, that sounds cool, I'll get back to you next week. Usually that means that the chances of you closing that deal have gone down dramatically. So if someone is interested right now, their interest is going to wane over time pretty quickly. And so you really want to capitalize on the situation where they're very interested. It's the right thing for them at the right time. But as human beings, our natural set point is to delay, to procrastinate. And so one of the fundamental things that deadlines do in order to drive sales higher is that deadlines force people to make a decision. You can't procrastinate. You can mull it over up until the deadline, but once the deadline passes, the deal is gone. And it just forces people to make a decision. A deadline is not going to take a bad offer, a weak offer, or a product that just has no reason to exist at all, and all of a sudden make it a huge winner. But what it will do is it will take everything that's from good to great and make it even better. Because people who are already interested, if you don't have a deadline, you're just leaving tons of money on the table. And every day that you're sending people through your sales funnel, they're clicking on your Facebook ads or going through your webinars, and you don't have a deadline, you're just wasting money. Every single day that goes by that you don't have a deadline, getting those people who are on the fence, they're interested, they're leaning in, but you're not making them make that decision, you're just leaving money on the table.
I love that. So what do you really build your deadline around? Is it always based off of price? Is it always based off of closing something? Or can you add those other elements into that?
Yeah, so a lot of people do it different ways. I was talking recently with a thought leader in Australia named James Shrinko. Mm-hmm. He and I did a podcast, and one of the things that he used Deadline Funnel for is that he will keep his membership site, his monthly membership site, closed. And then when someone comes into his funnel, his system will automatically open it and close it on a sequential basis. And so if they miss the first time, they get a second chance some months later. And so it's not immediately later, but say 2 months later, they get another chance. And then if they miss that, 2 months later, they get another chance, and then they're just out. Okay, you passed on it 3 times, you're out. So in that situation, he's not really adding in extra incentives. He's not decreasing the price. It's just, hey, this is the only time period where it's available. So that's one way that people use it. One way that I use it a lot is whether it's a live promotion like a webinar or an automated deal. A lot of times what I'll do is have a combination of price decrease and also bonuses. And so there's both of those going on. So it's a really, really attractive offer. But some people don't like to do the discount, and so in that way, what you could do is you could keep the normal price, but just add in some really, really powerful bonuses and make your overall offer so much more compelling. And in those last 2 situations that I just talked about, a lot of our clients, and myself included, you'll be able to reference, whether it's in your webinars or in your emails or whatever it is you're using, as far as the structure of your funnel, to say, look, you can go to after the deadline, you can still go to our homepage, it's still available. You just take notice that it's at this higher price and you don't get these extra bonuses. So if you want it at the best price and with all these extra bonuses, now is the time to jump on this, and you're still protected by this amazing guarantee, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's how I recommend that you structure it for an evergreen offer, because someone can, it's not that, hey, you'll never be able to get this again. Yeah, you can get it the day after the deadline, but it's not as good a deal as right now.
Okay, that's excellent. So what are some other good best practices, things that you really encourage people to do when they're just starting out thinking about creating these funnels?
Yeah, so I would always say keep it simple. So you really, getting something done is much more important than getting it perfect. You can always improve it later. So once you have a funnel complete, even if it's not the end-all and be-all of how you envision this long, fancy, technologically savvy funnel, getting it done and being able to get some results, even if you're losing a little bit of money. Let's say you're advertising and you're spending $5 to bring someone through the funnel, and you're only generating $4 on average back. You're losing money, but you're getting a result. Now you can start to tweak and to improve. And so I would say, first of all, get it done rather than get it perfect. So start with something simple. If you've got elaborate plans, really scale it back so that you can get something up and running, and then start to add on those other pieces later. Other lessons that we've noticed that are working with other clients is that, as a general rule, you want to stay somewhere in the 1 week range for your funnel. So that doesn't mean that 7 days is superior to 6 days. What I'm saying is somewhere in that range is going to be better than 2 weeks typically, because people's attention span is usually not going to span 2 or 3 weeks. You're not going to be able to hold their attention that long and really their interest is going to wane. And so if they're interested, you really should capitalize on that momentum and that interest and that attention. And I would say somewhere in the week range, like be 5 days, 9 days, somewhere in that range. And those are some of the other ones. Another point that I bring up, I like to tell people about a feature in our software that makes it possible to actually hide the countdown on your funnel pages until, let's say, the last day or the last 2 days of your promotion. So what you can do is you can have someone going through your funnel, and let's say each email initially it's just kind of in the PS in the first or second email, and then third, fourth, and fifth you start getting more aggressive, and fourth and fifth email you start really talking about the deadline. You can be sending them back to the same sales pages and checkout pages, but as you're doing that, in the first 2 or 3 days, they don't see a countdown timer because it's kind of a little aggressive to show a countdown time in the first day. But as your emails start to mention, by the way, all good things come to an end, and so will this, then they go back to the same page, and just like you would do in a live promotion, you would say, okay, it's the last 48 hours, let's add that countdown timer on the page. Our software will hide that countdown timer until right at the end, when it really emphasizes, hey, truly this deal is going away. The last thing that I mentioned, which everyone should be doing, no matter what you've been told regarding how many times you should email per week or per day, if you have ever been told never send more than 1 email a day, the time to violate that rule, and it's not really a rule, but the time to violate that advice is on the last day of a promotion. You want to send at least 2, but I recommend 3 emails on the last day. The reason why is because you'll just make more money, and you should just try it. If that makes you anxious, try it once and just tell yourself, I'm going to do it this once just to prove that it doesn't work, and I'll never do it again. And then when you see how much more money comes in on that last day, then you can decide what you want to do. But you owe it to yourself to try it once.
And let's dive into that just a little bit. So what do those 3 emails actually look like? Give us just a quick idea of what.
It's really not very complex. So first of all, I recommend using Deadline Funnel, but with our software, you can put the countdown in their actual email. So that really drives home.
I love that feature of that, by the way.
I think everyone uses that. So even though the deadlines are assigned based on when you come into the funnel, if it's an evergreen funnel, you can put that personalized email countdown timer in their email. So really, the three last emails are very short and simple emails saying, look, today's the last day. Maybe in the first one you summarize, look, this is everything that you're going to lose out on if you don't take advantage of this. This deal is yours, but it's also yours to lose. You got to pull the trigger before midnight. And then the last 2 are really just, hey, 6 hours left, hey, 3 hours left, and it's really not any more complicated than that. So these don't have to be masterfully crafted, copywritten emails. They're just reminders because people hit the snooze button. If you remember, just a few minutes ago, I said people's natural default response is just to, even if they say, yeah, I'm going to buy that. I mean, this has happened to me. Yeah, I'm going to buy that. And then I forget. And then I regret missing the deadline. Man, I wish they'd reminded me one last time. And so there are people on your list that are going to be, I was going to use a profane word, but mad that they missed the deadline. So send out 2 extra reminders. Just, hey, final reminder. And then one before that should be, I don't want you to miss out. So they're not super complex or short emails. Just, hey, I just don't want you to miss out because this deadline is legit.
Okay, yeah, and I completely agree. I've seen this same advice from other people who are really into the launch process, and generally, the more you email that last day, the more sales you make. I mean, I'm sure there's some, diminishing return at some point if you're sending 5, 10 emails, but it seems to be, the more you can be in front of them, the better it actually goes.
And if you're taking your buyers off of that promotional list, exactly, they're not going to get bombarded by that.
And especially if you're resending to the unopens, then that just kind of makes sense, really, because they already missed that email. They don't know, for whatever reason, they didn't see that email. Let's make sure we get back in front of them again before that deadline hits.
Right.
So, Jack, what are some of the other, I guess, maybe more creative or more unique ways people have used deadline funnels that you have found to be very effective?
Yeah, so a unique way that some people are using it is that some people will do a virtual summit and then afterwards they'll realize how powerful and effective it was, and they'll automate it. And so that's takes a little bit more work, because essentially every single days of content you're essentially making available only for a specific amount of time. But it certainly is possible, and people are doing it. In a similar vein, I'm meeting with a client tomorrow who's doing something similar. He's not positioning it as a virtual summit, but there's like 9 days of videos, and they only have 24 hours to watch the videos. And so that's another way. So you can have deadlines for little segments of your funnel. Trying to think other creative ways. I've seen people use deadline funnel to actually sell physical products like books. One client was driving Facebook ads, Facebook clicks to a landing page, and it was a really attractive offer on that landing page, and it had a countdown timer on that page. I'm trying to think what. I'll tell you, there's a case study on our blog where a guy named Jonathan Rivera is using countdown timers to get people to fill out rental applications, because he has a real estate business. So that's a unique one. And so he sends out flyers, and I think I don't recall how he advertises, but whether it's on Facebook or flyers or whatever, he gives people a limited time. He also has a business that helps clients get their podcasts up and running, which might be something kind of similar to what you do. And what he does is he will, if he's talking with someone that he feels like, look, this is a good fit, but I don't have quite the lead flow that I normally have, like he'll give them an extra incentive. Hey, if you sign up in the next 24 hours or 48 hours, then I'll give you this special discount or this extra bonus. I'll do this extra stuff for you when you sign up. And they'll send them the link, and it's to a sign up page, which is protected by deadline funnel. Oh, nice. So I've seen a lot of people do some really creative stuff with our software.
Yeah, that is really neat. And I know right now I'm kind of in the process of thinking about how the whole evergreen virtual summit will work, because I just used deadline funnels for the live summit, impact and income summit that I just had, but now trying to turn that into evergreen so we can reuse, keep those, because the content's still great, the content's still awesome. So I want to be able to get that back in front of people more and more again. So I'm just kind of slowly thinking everything that needs to go into place for that, because it does take a little bit more work.
Right. Yeah.
So that's really cool. So Jack, is there anything else people need to be thinking about? What are maybe some common mistakes you see people make when they first start getting started with deadline funnel?
Yeah, like I said, one of the mistakes that I see, let me back up. One of the mistakes that I see people do is that they don't take us up on our free 15-minute onboarding call. Now, lots of people do, but I think there's a lot of reluctance, because even though my video says, it's me saying, look, this is not a sales call, we just want to help you get set up. I think people are used to a lot of people pitching a consultation call as like, haha, I'm going to sell you into my expensive coaching program, and that's not what this is about at all. We just happen to provide awesome customer service. So those live onboarding calls really give us the opportunity to help someone out. But beyond that, I'm trying to think. Starting with a funnel that's just way too complex, I would, again, it's much better just to get it done than to, and that doesn't mean get it done, just put garbage out there, but get something where you can send a lead through and they have the opportunity to purchase and do something. You can add in all the other what ifs, and if they do this and click this and watch this or miss this, you can add in all that extra logic later, but get something up and running quickly so that you don't delay getting the results. And so that's another big one.
Awesome. I think that's great advice. So Jack, any final words as we kind of wrap up the interview here? Any final piece of advice or tidbits of wisdom on adding urgency?
Yeah. So I'll mention this. So two things. Like I mentioned, Robert Cialdini's fantastic work, a book called Influence, which really was one of my early introductions into social psychology and persuasion, and really was the first step into this whole world of persuasion. He talks about how he calls it scarcity. Scarcity is one of the most powerful psychological triggers. It works no matter what language you speak, what corner of the world your prospects and subscribers live in. it just works. If you're using it properly, it's just going to work. It's going to improve your conversions, period. And you can automate it and still make your promises of this deal ends on this date absolutely 100% legit. And so why wouldn't you? You've automated. Every time you automate something in your business, you gain leverage. So automating the most powerful psychological trigger out there is just a recipe for success. The other bit of advice that I mentioned is from a copywriting perspective and persuasion perspective. One of the things that you can do to really punch up your closes on your webinars or your sales copy or email copy is to really try to modify your language so that the offer that you're presenting, whether it's a discount or bonuses or a combination of the two, is that you really want them to envision that this is theirs. It's in their hands, but after the deadline, it's going to be taken away, because there's a psychological effect called the endowment effect, which means that if I feel like I've taken possession of something and it's going to be taken away from me, I put a much higher value on it. And so you want to, towards the end of your email sequence or the end of your webinar, I highly recommend that you really try to use language where you're emphasizing that this is in their hands right now, but soon they won't be able to grab this because it's going to be taken away. It's that fear of loss. Studies have shown that fear of loss impacts us much more than the possibility of gain. And so really playing on that fear of loss is going to help get the people who are interested off the fence and making a purchase.
Well, and I think that's the key piece too, is that you know your product's good, you know what you have will help these people, and you just need to give them kind of that extra push. And that's why that fear of loss and the urgency piece are so crucial, because it's getting a product that you believe in, that you know will help change people's lives, into their hands just because they needed a little bit extra in order to make that step.
If we have time, one more little bit of advice. Okay, so the other bit of advice is treat your business like a real business, and don't go cheap and go, okay, love what Jack had to say, but I'm just going to throw a cheapy countdown timer on a page and call it a day. Because gone are the days where you can just make one sale and call that a business, where you've got to make additional sales to the people that you've done business with. And so everything that we do, everything that we send out in emails or say in webinars or put in videos, put on our sales pages, is either building our credibility or it's hurting our credibility. And it's that credibility which is really going to power your ability to make that second, third, and fourth sale to your existing clients. So don't take the short view, take the long view, and really invest in your business properly using the right tools. And Deadline Funnel is the #1 tool out there for this. It's trusted by pretty much every thought leader out there. So you can go look on our website for case studies and who's using it, who endorses it. But the reason that they do is because we invest so much time and energy into making sure that it works. And so it's going to build your credibility. Even the people that miss out, at least they know the next time that you come. So if someone passes up on your deadline, you know what? The next time that you offer something, they're going to know, hey, Nick doesn't fool around. The deadline is a deadline, so I better jump on this. I better not procrastinate. So it's going to continue to build your business over time rather than hurt your business.
I love that. Well, Jack, thank you so much for being here. And I want to really encourage everyone to go out and to get Deadline Funnels. Go check that out. It's a great piece of software. I'm going to be using it much, much more in my business, and I want to really encourage you to do that. So again, thanks everyone for joining us on The Power of Podcasting. Just a reminder that we are live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, so you can join us by heading over to facebook.com/Nick Palkowski, or just head on over to yourpodcastguru.com and you'll find all the details about our show there. So thanks again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next week.